This is a recording of this year's Virtual Residency Fair. We'd like to take the time to thank the programs that volunteered their time to present to this year's applicants. This year's PM&R Scholars Virtual Residency Fair is supported by PM&R Recap and Ultrasound Guidance. PM&R Recap is the leading resource for your physiatry board preparation, clinical preparation, audition rotations, and beyond. PM&R Recap offers 35 hours of review videos, hundreds of review questions, and oral board cases to help you become the best physiatrist that you can be. Head to pmnrrecap.com to learn more. Ultrasound Guidance is the innovative new online ultrasound learning platform that gives you instant access to expert instruction. With rapid scans and complete scans of every joint and peripheral nerve, Ultrasound Guidance is the perfect way to jumpstart your MSK ultrasound learning. Visit ultrasoundguidance.com to learn more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny. I'm one of the other chief residents, along with Ryan. And I think we have our PGY3 Mustafa joining us today as well.
Hey guys, Mustafa here.
Hey, I'm Ryan. Obviously, Jenny introduced herself. Two out of the three chiefs are here. We have Omen as well, but he is in Korea, so we're not going to make him do that time change for us. So we're from Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. I'm going to be as fast as I can and try and be thorough just so there's plenty of time to ask questions. We will drop this link in the chat box. It's just like a 4-minute little intro about the program, but I'm not going to make you guys watch it right now. Okay, so Dr. Friedlander, she is our program director. She's awesome, very approachable, very fun. I'd say overall we have a really nice faculty, easy to talk to, easy to approach. If you ever have any concerns or issues, it's kind of like an open door policy. We have our current residents here. You can kind of see probably at the top, the PGY4 is a little smaller number of people. So we increased the class to 8 from 6. So moving forward, mine is the last class. It's going to have 6 people, which is very helpful for call burden. Here's just a little bit of some of the activities of this past year. We try and go out, COVID made things a little bit difficult, I'm sure for everyone, but we didn't hang out as much the last year and a half, but more recently we definitely have. We had a sand volleyball league that we had going on. We do on the 5th week of every month, we have some sort of outgoing, some activity. So we went to do horseback riding, adaptive sailing, and then also there was, we have done some adaptive rock climbing or just rock climbing in general. Jenny's a big advocate of that. And then we do have some people with kids, kind of, single, married with kids, kind of across the board as far as the residents are concerned. Living in Baltimore, it is, I think when I was first moving here, everyone was like, oh, the wire, it's scary, it's dangerous. But honestly, it's a really nice city. There's a lot of fun things to do. So the picture down here is of the harbor. This is kind of Harbor East downtown. So most of the residents kind of live somewhere along the water. It kind of skates along the city. And then I'll show you a picture more of kind of where the sites are in relationship to that, but a lot of nice areas, Canton, Fells Point, Harbor East. We have, the Guinness one, I think the only Guinness factory in America, which is awesome. Go to that every once in a while. It's a picture on the bottom right. Of course, crabs are the big thing here in Baltimore. So a number of places have different crab things going on. So just a little bit more of a look at the rotation schedule. So for PGY2s, we have a number of sites, but we have 2 main ones, and that's Bayview and Meyer 7. Those are the 2 main ones that you'd be at your PGY2. We are an advanced program, so you would match somewhere else for your intern year, either a transitional year or your prelim medicine. So Bayview is a little bit more kind of bread and butter patients. It's 4 to 5 months. It's going to be inpatient, seeing stroke, amputation, TBI, ortho. Meyer 7's our downtown campus. So, that's where you're going to really see a lot of the, specialists that people travel all over the world to see. A lot of rare diseases. We do a lot of, some cancer rehab, transplant, just a lot of rare neurologic disorders and different diseases that, maybe get tested on in step one, but not, you don't ever see in person. And then we have our SCI at Umroy, which is typically 2 months. And most of that's traumatic, and that's through the University of Maryland. And then you'll probably get an outpatient block, maybe a consult service, and then a research month. PGY3, we're going to do more, every year you do less inpatient, you do more outpatient. So you have some inpatient this year, just given KKI. So you have 1 to 2 months of pediatric. And that's just right down the street from the main campus. You get an elective month, which is kind of, you do with it as you wish. You can kind of make your own rotation. You can hop around different services. Maybe, if you're interested in pain or sports, you kind of engage in those rotations a little bit more, or you can do an away elective as well. More consults, and then you get a month of EMG. And then outpatient, we're pretty good about kind of, tailoring things to what you're interested in. You will definitely get broad exposure, 1 to 2 months of sports, MSK, spine, and pain. MSK, spine, and pain have a lot of kind of overlapping theme there. You do a lot of procedures, similar attendings, but it's a little bit different locations. And then your AMP and MSK. And then we have outpatient pediatric rehab as well, and outpatient spinal cord injury, and then a subacute rehab month. PGY4, you have 2 to 3 months. It's a total of 3 months of EMG over PGY3 and 4. Again, kind of a total of consults, typically 1 to 2 months over the course of your training. And then just starting this year, we're actually doing an addition of like a senior role on the inpatient. So it's going to help transition the PGY2s, kind of get acclimated. Intern year is very different. And I think, a lot of people don't really get into the physiatry aspect of things. Maybe a little bit of exposure in medical school, but it's not something you're really going to deal with in general during your intern year. So just trying to get everyone up to speed in what it really means to be a physiatrist, and have a little bit of training wheels for you if you have any questions, to help with teaching as well as part of that role. We have inpatient TBI 1 to 2 months, again at that Umroy, Maryland location. And then it's more outpatient clinics, kind of, you let Dr. Friedlander know what you want to do, and she builds it according to that. And again, it's 1 to 2 months overall of the subacute rehab. So rotation sites, I have a picture here. So Umroy is probably the one that's inpatient, but the furthest away. And JHH, that's your main campus. KKI, that's where you're going to do everything pediatric. That's like a block away from the main campus. I mentioned where people live, and right by the Inner Harbor, Fells Point, Canton. So this maybe takes 10 minutes. It takes you just as long to kind of park from the structure to get in there, maybe 10 minutes to ride your bike. You have Bayview. So if you live over in Canton, maybe it's in 5-10 minute drive. For me, I live in Fells Point. It takes me about 12 minutes to get over to Bayview. That's where those 3 sites are the place you spend the majority of your time. And as I mentioned before, Umroy is where you're going to do spinal cord and TBI, and then a little bit more of outpatient options. So some of that will be at the main campus. It will also be in Green Spring Station, which looks far away, but I was just there this morning. It took me 20 minutes to get from downtown Baltimore over there. I will say traffic is not bad here, which is nice. I mean, once you get down in the more DC area, that's when things get a little dicey. Columbia, Howard County, that's our furthest one right now. It's about 30 minutes, I'd say. And you're only there a handful of times a year, as well as White Marsh is about 25-30 minutes the other way. Do a little bit of sports at either of those 2 locations. So this is a picture of the main campus. This is Bayview. A lot more ortho. This is actually where the majority of our elective procedures are done. And you kind of see that population if you're on inpatient there. That's why it's a little bit different downtown versus Bayview. This is the subacute rehab facility. This is Umroy. This is KKI for the everything peds. All right, call schedule. And remember, this was one of the biggest things that everyone wants to know about. How much am I going to be sleeping? How many times am I living in the hospital? I will say with our having 8 residents, again, this year, we're able to decrease the call burden. So we have 2 types of call. One is R1, and that is going to be your in-house call, and that is at Bayview. It's going to be a 24-hour technically shift. So if it's during the week, you would do your regular rotation that you're on, and then you would be there by 6. If there are any late admissions, the day team preps all that for you. You just need to kind of to staff it, see them, finish the physical exam, and then kind of tuck them in at night. And then in the morning, sign out, you leave by 8. On the weekend, the difference is that's when it's really 24 hours. So on Saturday and Sunday, you would show up at 8 a.m. and you would be rounding on the patients with the attending. You would handle any admissions that came in, maybe some consults. And then, if that was Sunday, then you'd have a post-call day, again, leave by that 8 a.m. So it'd be an 8 to 8. And then for R2, that's the other one. This is a little bit different. So it's going to be more geared at the main campus downtown. And this is technically a week long. So you're just serving for the most part as backup to R1 in case, there's a problem. So R1, if there's a rapid that occurs or some sort of a medical emergency, you're covering the downtown campus as well as the Bayview location. There is a medical team, of course, on site, at downtown. So if there is a rapid or some sort of an issue, they'll page you and you'll head down, and then one of the other teams that's on call, maybe neurology, depending on what it is, or the hospitalist will be there by the time you get there and you assist with that. It is relatively rare for that to happen. Personally, I think it's happened to me 3 times since I've been here and been on call that I've had to go down there. And then, so R2 is backup. If for some reason, worst case scenario, 2 people crash at the exact same time at both locations, you would bring them in. And Jenny, can you think of, that's never happened to me. Has it happened to you, or do you know anyone this year? I can't think of anyone, but.
No, like probably once in a blue moon. I think it happened to me once through my PGY2 year, but it was a black call.
Okay. Black cloud, yeah.
To anybody else.
So for that one, you're basically back up, but on the weekend, you're covering Saturday and Sunday, and you get there again, downtown campus at 8. And then you just leave when you're finished rounding. If you need to do an admission, you can do that as well. It's typically a lot lighter of a call. So, let's say you get done rounding, there's no admissions, you're full. Then you could potentially leave by like 1 or 2. Typically, I'd say I usually leave maybe by like 3, but you have those nice days where you can get out early, and then you just sign out to the person who's at Bayview on that 24-hour shift. And you guys can ask me questions if you need me to clarify anything at the end about that. All right, vacations and holidays and conferences. So you have a total of 15 vacation days per year. Starting our PGY2 year, they added an additional 5 days for the winter holidays. So you should be off either over the Christmas time or New Year's. You'll have an extra 5 weekdays off for that. So really a total of 20 days of vacation. You also have 5 days for a conference or CME per year. As far as our education stipend, you get $500 your PGY2, PGY3 is $1,500, and PGY4 is $3,500. And they also give you more money kind of as an incentive. If you have any sort of publications, it's $500 per publication. And it says first author, but I've definitely gotten money and I've not been first author. So as far as our education, the quality of our education, of course, you have to have our weekly didactics. It's always protected time for everyone. Ours is on Tuesday from 8 to noon or 1, depending if we have an extra lunchtime meeting there. We go by themes for a month. So we may have a stroke month, TBI, sports, pain, and it is, occasionally we'll have a resident do a lecture, but in general, it's an attending run, and we'll have different specialists, from within the Hopkins family, kind of guest lectures coming in to present for us, as well as within the department. They also will talk about more of, finance, wellness. So it's pretty diverse. And then I mentioned earlier for our week 5, it's a field trip. So we'll usually do something fun if we have, 5 weeks instead of 4 in the month, like that adaptive sailing or the horseback riding. And we'll get food typically when we meet with Dr. Freeland or the PD. We do have ultrasound training, which is really nice. Dr. Imam is our sports medicine program director, fellowship director, and he is the one who ran that, as well with Dr. Kim, who just recently moved to New York. But it's going to be weekly. And right now we have an advanced track and then more of like an introductory one, which the PGY2s do. Obviously we're not expecting you to come in here as ultrasound gurus, and then kind of work up to be more advanced throughout your training. We have reading materials for that. And then usually we'll do like a remote session with the faculty kind of scanning and going through a lecture, and then we'll do in person as well, so you can practice. We do get iPads for free, which is nice. And you can, bring those with you or upload any sort of apps to help you out.
About 4 minutes left.
Thank you. Everyone does a lot of different things depending on the interest of the class. So it may be pain medicine was a big popular one, sports. It's nice that we have a lot of different program directors here to get letter of recs, to get exposure to help you with those applications. All right, questions?
I have a question. Hi, Dr. Merson. Thanks everyone for the presentation. I just wanted to ask what exposure there would be to concussion treatment. Thanks.
I can speak to that. So for concussion, you'll see them kind of scattered through your sports medicine rotations. You also have like the opportunity to go to the Hopkins athletic training room. So there's a lot of concussion stairs, or if you participate in sidelining for the Hopkins game or high school games that we have the opportunity to participate in. You can do concussion evaluation there. We also have our brain injury specialist, Dr. Krasna. Concussion is part of brain injury. So you see a lot of that in the brain injury clinics as well. And then we work very closely with our neuro rehabs, like therapists, PTs and OTs, and even like vestibular specialists to be able to understand the rehab portion of how to manage concussion.
Awesome, thank you.
Anyone else?
Ask a quick question. What kind of research is going on at Johns Hopkins and PM&R?
So Hopkins is a research engine, and there's tons of variety, and depending on which specialty or subspecialty you're interested in. Within PM&R, there is like local motor learning, like motion analysis lab, if you're interested in like biomechanics, like using 3D video technology for that. There is prosthetic research as well. And then there are a lot going on for like neuro rehab, like using the brain stimulation studies. There's like for upper limb and lower limb, like gait analysis, etc. And we're a bit weaker on the sports side, but that's slowly building up. And then there's a lot on the pain side as well, because I think there's like molecular level studies and also clinical studies that Ryan can probably speak more to.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities. We can talk to you more specifically about that. If absolutely, we'll leave our emails in there to ask more questions. I just want to make sure we get a couple of questions that are in the chat box here as well. So the first one was the majority of our time, or is it spent on the rotations? PGY2, it's going to be split between the main campus, Hopkins, and Bayview. So I'd say 90% of your time is going to be on those two, and there will be a little bit more at the main campus. What's the progression of resident independence through the course of the training? Mustafa, you want to answer that?
Sorry, ask it one more time.
What is the progression of independence through the course of training?
Yeah, so PGY2, I think, you come in already having done intern years, so you're already a little bit comfortable, but it's always nice that you know that you have someone there, and they do let you be as independent as you might feel, but of course there's still a little bit of babying going on. PGY3, so after I finished this past year, more recently I've been getting more independency with like injections and procedures, and then obviously as a 4, Ryan and Jenny are pretty much doing everything and knowing that they have their backup. So
all right. Another one is, do you feel compensated enough relative to the cost of living in Baltimore? If you Google Baltimore cost of living, it looks very cheap. So I was like, I'm going to save all this money, but it is cheap. And the fact that I live on the water in a 2-bedroom, and it's $2,200. You could live, I'd say probably $1,400 to $2,000 is probably more where people are kind of averaging at. So there's no one has any kind of issues living in a nice place and struggling with money. It's definitely not New York City.
Yeah, it's you get the perks of the city without the high cost of the city living or the crazy traffic. And then I think there's a second question related to kind of living situation. Yes, we have, the question is, do you have any residents that you know of that live a little further away due to spouse in DC or similar distance? We have one resident, he's from Northern Virginia, family is there. So he actually lives out in, I think, Silver Spring, Bethesda area. So he does commute, and because his wife works in the DC general area. It's not a fun commute, but it's doable.
And we do take IMGs. There was another question on that. Jenny, I hope you don't mind me outing you. You're more, well, I guess you went to school here, but technically more of an IMG, right, with your visa?
Yeah, so I'm on the work visa at Hopkins, and so we definitely don't discriminate for whatever background you're coming from.
And I think we maybe, if you guys want to answer the last question in the chat, and then we can kind of wrap things up.
Jenny or Mustafa, you want to take that one?
Sure, I can go. So the question is, how important is diversity at Hopkins? Any specific things you guys look for in applicants as the diversity of their residency class? And if you look at our, like, throughout all classes, we're definitely pretty diverse, and we try to make sure that we kind of focus on diversity when we're picking applicants. And then also Hopkins as an institution, like from the institution level to the department level, we're trying to improve diversity and having more conversations about diversity and how to kind of navigate that. So there's like weekly, I think, or monthly emails about that, and like training sessions about that, and even like hiring faculty, they're trying to make it more diverse as well.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for that awesome presentation. I think we'll wrap it up there. Yeah, I think maybe one of your guys' residents already dropped their email in the chat, but if you guys want to put your emails in there, that way applicants can reach out if there's any other questions. But otherwise, have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks for having us. Good luck with everything. Let us know if you have any other questions. We're happy to chat more.